let's jump right into this. So some basic precautions with IT that we need to take is we need to limit device sharing across the board with not just our staff if people are still coming into the office, but even our family. That's going to be computers, phones, keyboard, mice, printers, pretty much everything IT based. It's just a best practice with your IT stuff. Everyone should really just use a dedicated device, especially at the office, but I think even with family. My wife, she's not right now giving our phone to our son even to watch Daniel Tiger. We just turn it on the TV. There's no reason for him to have our phones right now. The next basic precaution is I really want to remind everybody that hackers are fully taking advantage of this crisis. You guys got your job to make money, and so do they. Theirs just happens to be to try to get your money. So be extra cautious of emails, site links, phone calls, and regular email. Especially because everybody's working from home right now. There's a lot more moving parts. There's all the communication is remote. There's a lot less face-to-face, and so there's a lot more room for somebody to send a phishing email pretending to be somebody else. And if you're not on your guard, you could just kind of click right into something without realizing it. It's incredibly easy to do. I've already seen this done this week. So that's just something to be aware of and pay attention to. So obviously the first part of working from home is remote access. Some things you're going to want to consider is your internet access, your internet speed. If you don't have the speed at your office, then it's not going to accommodate certain levels of remote access. You might even need to maybe have conversations about moving everything into OneDrive or Dropbox or Google or whatever you guys are currently using as a cloud drive if your internet isn't able to accommodate people being able to reach from the outside in. This would also pertain to if your internet at home isn't as fast either, because if your internet speed can't accommodate 10 people, for instance, maybe 2 people can, you might want to just prioritize who's going to need that access more than the other person. We can look into that for you if you're not sure of those answers, of course. The next question is, what does your staff actually need to work remotely? What kind of files, what kind of programs, what kind of access do they need in order to do their jobs? Maybe all they need is a certain set of Word documents or Excel or PDF. That's going to really simplify the certain level of access that they need. Maybe they don't need to fully get on their computer or to have a dedicated VPN to get in. Maybe they could just grab a few files, throw it on their OneDrive, and be fully good to go. So those are other things that you're going to want to take into consideration, especially if your internet speeds aren't great. So just kind of putting those strategies in order and in place and rationing that speed according to what you have or don't have. Maybe you have amazing internet and you can give everybody everything, and that's great for you. So it's that might be a conversation that you'll want to have with us or internally amongst yourselves. Remote access, basically there's going to be 2 ways to get into your office, either through a VPN or remote desktop. The VPN that we're using is called Hamachi. We may have already set you up with that this week. Otherwise, if we haven't, we have that available. It's inexpensive, and the nice thing is that it's a software VPN, meaning if you don't have a static IP address at your office, it's totally okay because this actually runs through the LogMeIn interface, and it kind of circumvents the whole need for a static IP. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. It just means you don't need more stuff. What a VPN is going to do is it's going to provide file access from your actual computer without needing to remote into anything. So you can actually have a map drive and reach straight into your server, but you can also have remote secure remote access as well. So it gives you kind of the best of both worlds. You can reach into your shared drive on your server, access the files that you need, or if you want to work on your desktop as if you were physically there at the office, you can still do that through Hamachi. The problem with this one is that it's prone to, there's just more things that need to work, and so there's going to be more areas where it could break. I did make another video that I'm happy to email out to you guys or leave leave a link to that video going more into Hamachi and the different self-help kind of fix ideas. Hamachi is incredibly simple and it works great, but we get a lot of calls that they just come down to some basic training of, hey, this is how you turn on the VPN. This is what this color means. This is what that light means, to just basic things that you may need to know to make it work. So there's a quick 10-minute video that I could send you guys that runs through all of that information if you go that direction. The next option is just straight up remote desktop. And you'll notice that I say with two-factor authentication. I don't want to open up remote desktop into your machine without a second layer of security on there, because remote desktop opened up to the web means that hackers indiscriminately are just scanning for these open remote desktop ports, and they could start attacking your system. And even if you have a strong password, over time they could still eventually, with these brute force programs, break through that password and gain access. This happens all the time. It's one of the leading causes of how people get infected with ransomware, actually, with email being number 2. And so I will not, and nobody in my organization will give you remote access without setting up two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is essentially you put in your password and then you get something sent to your phone, you type in a code or you approve it from your phone, and then you can get in. You probably already experienced this with your bank or with other organizations already. So it's the same exact principle. It just means that if somebody gets into, or they figure out your password and they're able to get through it, they would also need your cell phone. So it's just that necessary layer of precaution in today's day and age. The nice thing about remote desktop is that it's very simple, it's very specific. We can make it to where there's an icon on your desktop, and with 2 clicks, you're into your system with just your password and the quick two-factor authentication, and there's a lot less that could go wrong than using a VPN. And this is why I was going initially stating that you want to know your level of what you need access to, because if you don't need that VPN and maybe your remote desktop is good enough and your internet can support it, then that might be the best option for you guys. Limitations with remote access in general is going to be remote printing. RDP does support this, so does Hamachi, but there are limitations in terms of the age of the printers, drivers. We can work around a lot of those things, but it's just in general, kind of walk into that situation understanding that you may or may not be able to directly print to your printer. You may need to save it as a PDF and then move that PDF onto your local computer and then print it there. That's kind of a long way workaround, but it works. You know, if all else fails, we can kind of handle that on a case-by-case basis as needed. And then VPNs, they're only meant for accessing like Word, Excel, PDFs, photos, things of that nature. Streaming large files and databases is not going to work. If you want to run QuickBooks from home, you need a remote into your machine. You can't launch it locally at your house and expect for QuickBooks to run. That's true for any database, whether it's QuickBooks, Act, you name it, whatever it is, it's not going to work over a VPN, so don't even try it. You could corrupt your data. It may run for a second and crash, so we just want to avoid that altogether. Don't do it. Bring your own device, meaning if you're working with a home computer and that's owned by either you or one of your employees is going to use their computer at home, family members need to work off of a completely different profile that's separate from yours, because you know, we don't need your kids, your teenagers, your wife, unauthorized people getting into your work files, because if we're setting up your home computer to have access to the company, you have that authorization, but the other people in your home don't. And obviously, I mean, I'm not saying that anything nefarious is going to go on one way or the other, but I know that I don't want the family members of my employees having access to your guys' sensitive information that we have access to. So that needs to be a separate thing. You need to have a separate password that is only for you, and it is not to be shared with the rest of your family. Make sure every time that you walk away from your computer, you lock down your computer. It's really simple. All you do is press Windows L. Don't do that right now, or it's going to kick you off the webinar. But that's all you got to do. You have a password, hit Windows L, walk away, go to the bathroom, get a drink, whatever, come back, you could sign back in. Might seem like an inconvenience, might seem unnecessary, but it's just best practices. And finally, if you're using a home computer, this is for all of our existing managed service clients. I'm going to, up till the end of April, provide our security stack to the home computers for free if you're running a VPN. Remote access users, you don't need it, but if you're running Hamachi, I don't want to introduce a new machine that's out of date, insecure, doesn't have any type of protections into your company network. So that's just something we're doing for free for all of our clients, and we're going to provide that all the way through April. And hopefully by that point, we'll be over the hump of this COVID-19 problem. Let me open it up to questions really quickly for just a few minutes before we jump into Office 365. If anybody has something, feel free to unmute and ask away.
David, hi, this is Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
Hi. So, how do we know if we have VPN or not? I mean, is that something that we download ourselves, the software?
Good question. You can get it yourself through Hamachi and you can pay for it. We actually have it already set up for all you guys. So probably the easiest thing to do is just call over to the support line and ask Anthony or one of the guys, and they'll set that up for you.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Anybody else? Nope. All right, cool. Moving on. So Office 365, a lot of these principles are going to apply to Google Apps or G Suites as well, but Office 365 is what I know the majority of our clients use and what we use and what we're really pushing. I used to be all about Google, and I've probably even set up some of you guys that are on here with Google at some point potentially, and it's still a good product. It's just unfortunately Google has not been keeping up like Microsoft has, and that's why we pivoted over to it. There's more integrations, there's a ton of value. We're doing a lot of medical facilities at this point, and so Office 365 has a incredible footprint in the world of compliance, and so it just made sense for us to really invest our knowledge and our service set into Office 365. But again, what I'm talking here is very overview-ish. So if you're with Google, it will still apply to a degree. That said, Office 365, it's a full functioning productivity suite with built-in security. It comes with Microsoft Teams collaborations tools, which is going to be amazing given the circumstances. You get real-time shared Word and Excel user experience through OneDrive, meaning that two people could be on the same Word document at the very same time. And you could actually see, like if you and me were on the same document, like same Excel spreadsheet, you'll be one color, I'll be the other color, and you could literally see me clicking around on cells and making changes and vice versa. So it's pretty incredible for working on the same thing at the same time. That you could even bring up a little chat box on the side, or you guys can speak with each other remotely just from within that Word or Excel or just Office document that you're working on. And then it comes with Skype, OneNote, and a lot of other really amazing tools. I'm not going to focus on those, but a lot of the principles in terms of the collaboration still apply to pretty much everything that comes with Office 365.
David, we have a question at OFR.
Okay.
All of our stuff is cloud-based. Do we still need to attend this?
Well, this is going to be focused on, because a lot of what I'm talking about is cloud-based. So a lot of what this is talking about is how your team can work with each other, even though each person may not be in the same room or even building.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So talking about OneDrive, it's going to allow you to store, access, and share folders and files. I was talking to a client this morning, and she was saying, hey, do we just throw everything onto a thumb drive? And you can, but I would encourage you, if you have OneDrive, or if you're interested in setting up OneDrive, to use that instead, because it's going to allow you to move files a lot more securely than just having it on a thumb drive. Thumb drives also are pretty volatile and can break. They're easy to lose. And if you work directly off that thumb drive, I've seen it more times than I could count with my shoes off. I've seen that file become corrupt or just disappear for no reason whatsoever. So I don't recommend it. I think OneDrive would be a better option. It's easy and it's inexpensive to back up as well. So if we move those files onto OneDrive, we can actually back up your Office 365 in completion. That means your email, your calendar, your contacts, your OneDrive, your SharePoint, your planner, every single aspect of your Office 365 can be backed up. And I think it's as low as like $3 a user per month. So it's very inexpensive. So that way, if you keep everything in there, maybe you don't need to do it long term. Maybe it might make sense to continue doing that after all of this. But the price point of keeping that information backed up with infinite retention is very inexpensive. So I would recommend that over a thumb drive for those reasons. Let's see, you can also use OneDrive app to, yep, okay, I'll show you this in this 1 second. Let me go to the next slide. I was also asked a couple times this week about scanning. If you guys are going to be away and you don't have a scanner, what's the easy way to scan? If you have the OneDrive app on your cell phone, you can actually, you'll see this picture here with scanning just got easier. When you hit that, it's going to bring up a camera where you can take pictures of various things, business cards, documents, whiteboards. If you select documents, it's going to scan it and actually make it black and white, flatten it out, make it look just like a scanner. I actually, when I had to send my tax documents to my accountant and I had to bring home my personal over to my wife, I don't have a scanner at my house. I didn't want to drive all the way to the office. It was really nice that I was able to whip out my phone, scan it with this app here, and within the same breath, shoot it off and email it to my accountant, and then he had everything he needed. It took me 5 seconds to do. So it's a pretty cool capability. It's all within your phone. And then when you scan that document and put it into your OneDrive, it'll immediately be available on your computer as well. So it's pretty low tech, easy to use, and very little can go wrong with it. You don't need any type of tech support to make that kind of thing work. It just does. Office 365 email. Again, I want you guys to be aware of phishing scams because they're happening more than ever. A lot of it, if we've already set you up, is probably just landing in the spam filters, so you're not seeing those. But they're happening regularly, and because people are going to be working from home and emailing each other more, communicating more remotely, it's going to be a lot easier to step into hackers to kind of step into that space, especially if they compromise one of your accounts and pretend to be somebody that you have been interacting with remotely. So just be on guard and look for anything that, if it seems fishy, pick up the phone and call them and ask them about it. I had I'm sure a lot of you have had this, but I had one of our customers send us an email with an attachment on it saying, hey, please read this. And it was like their official letter with letterhead regarding COVID-19. I wasn't sure if I should open that or not, so I picked up the phone and I called and said, hey, just wanted to make sure, is this legit? Is this from you guys? It was, everything was fine, but that's the kind of steps that you need to take. Don't just, oh, I got an attachment from this person, I know who they are, and then open it if you weren't expecting it, because that's how you get yourself in trouble. If you do get phished, and I've already kind of touched on this roughly, the two-factor authentication, it comes with Office 365, 100% free. It's free, it's easy, and it's just an obvious no duh. Everybody should have two-factor authentication enabled, because if you get tricked into giving away information and they get into your account, if you have two-factor authentication built in, A, it's going to notify you so you know to change your password and know that something's happened, but B, it's going to prevent them from getting it. Finally, with Office 365 email, you can create and share mailboxes, you can create groups, you can share calendars, and you can, it'll integrate with your Microsoft to-do list. So for instance, if you receive an email and you click it as flagged, it's actually going to automatically move into Microsoft To-Do, which I'll show you here in a moment. So that way it's actually a to-do list of, if you flag the email, ooh, I need to handle that, that's important, etc., it's going to show up in a separate area of your to-do that you could then work through those so it doesn't just get lost in the endless list of emails that we receive throughout the day. Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is going to be kind of a cornerstone for you guys. The principles of this will apply to Slack also, but essentially what it does is it allows you to create various channels where people can collaborate either through departments or project, clients. It could even be social-based stuff like a book club of something that maybe certain teams are going through and reading. And it's I'm going to show you this in a moment. I'm actually going to bring this up and show you, but you can lock down these groups to specific users, so you can keep it private if you have kind of an executive channel. If you have a certain project going on, you can keep everything, including Word documents or Kanbans, built into that specific channel as well. And I'm going to show you all that here in a second. You can also integrate this with Office 365 for specific channels and collaborating and sharing as well. And finally, what Teams has done, at least for my company, is it's brought kind of a higher level of community. We have a couple different channels that have nothing to do with work. We got one called Random. We got one that's funny, so they can throw up just different dumb ideas, memes, GIFs. It just kind of makes it not so stuffy with just work. You can kind of lighten it up a little bit. And so it's a nice tool that is flexible and allows you guys to make it kind of fit your culture on the way you and your team operate. Let's see. I'll show you that as well. So web conferencing and meeting. Let me just bring up Teams. I think this is a good time. So this is Microsoft Teams right here. And so these are various channels here, and we have one for our customers. So different customers we actually have some dedicated channels for some of our clients, so they can actually communicate directly with us. And I can't bring up a lot of this stuff because there's some things that are confidential, but marketing is kind of an unused channel, and it'll be a good opportunity to show you kind of what it can do. So if I wanted to create a new channel here, I can add members to it. Let me add a channel. So I'll call this mailers. You can put a description. You can set the privacy to standard or to private. I'll just leave it open to standard and automatically show this on everybody's channel. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to delete this later. But I'm going to go ahead and create this team. And so this will be a discussion about anything that we're mailing out to people. From here, I can attach files from OneDrive that are all pertinent. And then a wiki, you can actually create kind of a Wikipedia for each channel itself. And then most importantly, you can add pretty much anything, a Word document, a SharePoint, PowerPoint presentations, PDFs, and planners. I want to show you planners because planners has been a huge game changer. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Kanbans or not. We'll just call this test planner. Essentially, this is a Kanban board is it's like a to-do list on steroids. So you can create these different buckets. So we'll say we got to do, in progress, and complete. Everybody that's a part of this channel can now see and modify what's going on in this board. So let's say that I want to do a mailer. And then there's another task that we're going to do where we got to do stamps. We got to stamp those mailers, right? So the mailer is in progress, and then the mailer is complete, and everybody can see that. So now they know that it's time for stamps. So then you can move stamps into progress, and then once everything is stamped, and then maybe the final task is send mailer. So then, okay, cool. The person who's in charge of sending that mail, taking it to the post office, sees these two have been done. They could move it to mail, and then finally, when that's done, move it to complete. Within these guys, you could create custom tags. You could change the color of these to mean certain things. Maybe it's urgent, maybe it's emergency, maybe it means, it's really up to you guys. You can list different priorities, like if you need it to be urgent. You can change the priority, obviously, from within here. You can add notes. So if you add a note like this is for 50 people, you click show and card, so that way the people don't need to necessarily go into the actual Kanban to see what the note says. You can put the description in there and make sure that it shows right on the card. So that way, at a glance, you can see exactly where this project is, what's going on with it. It's essentially a project management system, but it's all built within these Teams channels. So you can have different posts and conversations that are going on. People can access the files. If there's any to-dos and how-tos, you'll find that in the wiki. And then you can add a Kanban system in here if it applies to the specific channel for the project. Under the calendar section here, it will sync with your calendar so you can see what's going on in the calendar, and you can schedule meetings, or you could just say meet now. But for instance, let's say I want to create a new meeting for send mail conversation. I can add the attendees, so I want to speak with Anthony on this. So I'm going to add Anthony. It already found him really quickly. I could set the date. So we're going to have a conversation later today at 1 o'clock about this, and then save this. And what this is going to do is set up a actual web conference. So you can have a video, you can have a camera on there. You can speak just like you and I are doing it. You could do screen shares. You know what, let me just start a meeting right now and kind of show you what that looks like. So, hey guys. And I'm going to invite Anthony to this. So I'm calling him right now. See if he answers. He's probably on the phone helping somebody, but essentially it's just a video conferencing. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because he's not available. So that's Teams. There's a lot of different ways. Some alternatives for web conferencing could be Zoom. Zoom is actually free, and it's got some limited capacity on how many people could be on at once. But and I know they have a paid for service as well. And then GoToMeeting, that's what you and I are using, and that's free if you have a Jive voice over IP subscription. Otherwise, you could just purchase it. I see a lot of different chat things in here. I'll take a look at those in 1 second. I want to finish the Office 365, then I'll open up questions and I'll look at your chats. Office 365 to do. This right here is pretty much the best to-do list you could ever ask for. You can do shared task lists, so you can have a task list and share it with people in your organization. You can add notes in there, you can add reminders, you can add and connect different files to it. This right here has been a big help. You can use it on a personal level and a professional level. You can access your task lists from essentially anywhere. So it's not just on your computer, it'll be on your phone. It integrates with Outlook as well. And it'll do day organization, which I'm going to show you what that is here in 1 second. So this is my task list, and you can see I use it pretty heavily. And so like this YouTube idea section, this is just different ideas for YouTube videos that I think might be good. And what I can do is I can share this with different people. So I'll create an invitation, and I'm going to invite my, let's see, invite via email. Or better yet, I can just copy this link and send this over to Jasmine. So I want her to collaborate with me on these YouTube ideas, and I can manage the access. I can limit the number of concurrent people that have access to this, or I can stop sharing it if I don't want anybody to have access to the shared list anymore. But let's say I come in the morning and this is my to-do list, and I look through this and I want to prioritize the top 6 things. I can right-click here and say add to my day. And let me add a few of these to my day. So now I have a focus list. So I have my general lists, lots of them, and I can go through and see all the various things based off of teams, what other people have assigned to me, and what I've assigned to myself. Obviously, I can't do all of them at once, but what I could do is just add those various things to my day and complete those. And if it's part of a shared to-do list, then everybody else that's a part of that shared to-do list is going to see whether or not I've completed these or not. Okay. Okay, before I jump into VoIP strategies, let me look at some of these chats really quickly. Quick questions regarding the scanning app. Okay, so nothing specific. All right, so let me open it up to questions really quickly.
David, it's Veronica.
Hey, Veronica.
Can you hear me? Okay, hi. I'm sorry. I was having issues with my computer, so I missed a lot of what was being presented. But I did have a question regarding the OneDrive app scanning.
Yeah.
So if you scan with your phone, does that, and it saves it to the phone, does that take up the memory of the phone, or is it scanning it directly to whatever VPN we're associated to?
Great question. It doesn't go to the VPN. It actually goes into your OneDrive. Now, if you
okay,
want,
so
yeah,
memory
if
on
you
the phone. Okay.
to save locally to your device, then it will. But those scans are pretty darn small, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, good question. Anybody else? Okay, cool. Well, moving on. Voice over IP strategies. I really should have named this phone strategies because that's going to be kind of a big problem. If nobody's at the office answering the phones, how are you guys going to answer it? So with a voice over IP system, you're going to be able to answer your phone system from home because if it's a hosted VoIP system, I should kind of stress that. If you have VoIP, you should have the availability to download an app onto your phone and be able to take calls as if that was your phone. That means that it doesn't matter where you're at in the world, as long as you have internet access through your cell phone, you can take calls according to your specific extension. This is also true typically for computers as well. So if you have a headset and you got a microphone, you could actually, typically for most of the major hosted VoIP services, be able to take calls straight from your computer. Neither of these I have found, and I've used several different VoIP services, I've found to be incredibly perfect. It's not a amazing replacement for having an actual desk phone. I still prefer a desk phone, but for what's going on and for the need that we have, or just for if you're out and about day to day and you need to take a call or make a call from your office company's cell phone or phone system, it's a nice feature to have and it works good enough. I just want to manage your expectations so you guys realize that it's not going to be as good as your desk phone. Let's see, bring your phone home. I threw this together last night, so please forgive me if I'm just kind of stumbling and bumbling through this. Bring your phone home, plug it in. Oh, yeah. So another thing you can do is if you have a hosted VoIP system, your phone is already programmed. It's not contingent on the network that it's plugged into. If it's hosted VoIP, I'm stressing that. But some of my guys, they want to work from home because they're a little concerned about all this and they don't want to share the love here at the office. So they asked if they could work from home. And I said, yes, take your desk phone home with you. So they can take it, plug it into their network and work just as effectively. They could take calls as if they were sitting right there at their desk. So that's an option as well if you have VoIP. But let's talk about if you don't have VoIP. So there's some obvious ones. You can just set up your phone, the phone number to forward to somebody's cell phone number, and then it's as basic as somebody calls your office line, that'll go straight to a cell phone number. If your current phone system is not hosted VoIP, but it will support extensions, what you can do is you can assign those. Typically, you can assign those extensions to different various people's cell phones. So you can say extension 1 or extension 101 or whatever your extensions are will go to Susie, and if they do 102, it'll go to James. Or if you have a virtual call assistant that says thank you for calling company X, for customer service press 1, you can make that customer service press 1 go to your front desk gal or guy that's working from home. So those are some other options. Otherwise, we can pretty quickly set you up with a VoIP service. We use Drive, and that's who we recommend, and they do have a month-to-month service, so you can just sign up for it and we could get that set up for you and you could use it on a temporary basis. Or you can always, and it's always less expensive to have some kind of agreement. If this is a direction you guys have been wanting to go anyways, we can get this set up for you, or at least have a conversation on if your office is actually set up to, if you have the internet to support it and the network to support it and the actual need, we could actually take those first steps and move you into the VoIP solution you were thinking about doing anyways. This would be a good time to do that. Finally, backups and data loss. So, while we're working at home, and I've already said this a few times, the chance of losing your data is going to be significantly higher. There's a lot more moving parts. There's a huge potential for security breaches, and also just accidentally overwriting files or accidentally deleting files, or a file just getting lost by mistakes. There's a lot more moving over the internet back and forth. And with those kind of things, you might delete something, or it might have not transferred and you thought it did, and something goes missing. You send something to somebody and you think that it got to them and you remove it from yours. There's just so many different scenarios. There's just a lot more room for something to go wrong. So with that happening, it's going to be really critical that we keep, if you keep critical data on your computer, on your personal computer at home, or you take your computer home and you move stuff and you're not keeping it specifically in OneDrive, if it's just specifically on a singular device, it's a good idea to actually have that backed up. We can help you with that. My definition of a backup is something that happens automatically, that backs up to a different device or the cloud, and is something that does not require human action in order to happen. It needs to happen without you telling it to. We have pretty inexpensive solutions for that if you need that. But again, I still recommend just keeping everything in OneDrive if possible, if you're set up for that. And when I say OneDrive, I don't just mean OneDrive. If you have Google Drive, I mean that as well. If you have Dropbox, I mean that as well. If you guys are in the medical industry, we definitely need to have a conversation about compliance. So two-factor authentication is a 100% must. There is no option. You need to have that with any of these, but Microsoft's OneDrive is going to be the best option for compliance. There's other options, but those are a lot more expensive, and I'm not going to talk about those. If you have something like that, we can talk about it. I'm not going to move you off of it. It just needs to have those compliancy pieces in place. But we do have the ability to back up, and I think I mentioned this already. We can back up Office 365, and that backs up everything: your email, calendars, contacts, OneDrive, SharePoint, Planner, to-do list. If it's part of Microsoft 365, it will get backed up. Finally, if you're an existing client of ours and your server is already being backed up both locally and to the cloud, this isn't going to change. We aren't closing our doors. Even if all of us have to work from home, we're not going anywhere. All of our hours are completely up, and so you can rest assured we have everything backed up both locally in a secure place and to the cloud, and all of that is a top priority for us at all times, but especially right now. Almost done. Just a quick recap, and then I'll open it up to any final questions. Also, I am recording this, so I will send this to everybody so you can share it with your team or with anybody you think needs to see this. So quick recap: security needs to be your top concern and priority. Number two.
Hi, David. It's Georgina. My main priority right now, we're trying to do the telehealth, and we wanted to do the video. Do you have any recommendations right now that since we're going using your guys' link for us to do remote access?
Yeah. I'm not completely understanding your question, Georgina.
We're trying to do telehealth, and we need to have video access for our patients.
Gotcha. I understand.
So I don't know how safe Skype is, if it gives out our phone number or anything like that, or do you have other recommendations right now that we're going through this?
For having the telehealth service.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that afterwards. I'm making a note. But Skype's a good option for that, and it is secure. just make sure if you share your screen with them, which I don't think you need to do for telehealth purposes, but if you did need to, just make sure you don't have any PII information on there or any type of HIPAA information.
Okay.
So just be kind of leery of that.
So it doesn't show on Skype. I've never used Skype before, so it doesn't show phone numbers or anything like that, right?
No, it'll only show the information that you allow that person to see.
Okay.
What I would recommend doing is do kind of a test run with internal staff, so that way you can see what they see, and
Okay.
that'll kind of make sure it'll give you confidence in what you're showing. But
Okay.
no,
All right.
you feel pretty safe, and Skype's a great service.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's all I needed to know about the Skype. All right, thank you.
No problem. This is a good question. So wrapping this up, we can get you remote access in any fashion that best fits your needs. Probably a one-on-one conversation with me or one of my techs is going to be the best way to approach that if we haven't done that for you already. Office 365 can be a key hub for bringing together all of your tools for your team to have an effective way that promotes security, productivity, and community, especially Microsoft Teams is just a massive game changer. The VoIP solutions are going to solve that big hurdle for your organization. But if that's not an option for you guys, we can work around that and try to figure out other options. Again, Microsoft Teams might be an answer for that, at least for internal conversation. Maybe there's only one person that can receive phone calls, so that one person's job is to then delegate through Microsoft access what. Finally, number 5, complete remote access creates more room for error, data loss, and security breaches. So we just want to make sure that any information that is moving off of your server and onto OneDrive or onto a USB thumb drive, which again, I don't recommend, or your computer is protected. And what I didn't write down here that I just want to touch on again is if you have a personal computer, or even if you bring a work computer home, make sure that it's secure from other people in your home because they don't need access to the company files. That's it. What kind of questions you guys got for me? And how did I do? Did I do okay for my first webinar?
You did great, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, great. Thank you, David.
No problem, Jenner. Thanks for attending. Any other questions or comments? Awesome. You guys have been great. Thank you. Feel free to call us and we'll take care of whatever you guys need, okay? Or if you think of any questions, shoot me an email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
David.
Thank you, David.
Welcome.